let you all know I'm going to be recording this session. So you may see a pop-up or you may see something letting you know that we are recording this. It goes on our website for people to refer to down the line. So that's the purpose of recording this session. So if you want to mute yourself, hide yourself, change your name, that's all up to you. Feel free to go ahead and do so. So good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Sarah Mueller from the Montgomery County Department of Environmental Protection in the Recycling and Resource Management Division. You are here today to talk about filing a recycling and waste reduction report with us for your business or perhaps multiple businesses, depending on your role. So I'm so glad you all joined us. I see a lot of names I recognize. For those of you who are new to this process, welcome. And our goal here today is to make this as painless as possible and to understand a little bit more about why we do this and what purpose it serves, this report. There are other entities and agencies that do have these reporting requirements, though not everybody does. So if you are from an outside organization, outside of the county, the state, et cetera, you may not have had to do this before. So this may be new to you. So we're going to go through some tips about how best to file your report if this is your first time, or answer some questions for those of you who may not do this more than once a year, and it's a good refresher. So this is your home screen that you will see when you sign in. If you're new in an organization, but the organization has filed in the past, you may just need to be swapped for a previous filer, in which case you could reach out to me directly. I can help you get set up. If you're filing for a brand new business, you are going to click that create an account down below, but I will go into a little bit more detail as we go. First and foremost, what is the annual business recycling and waste reduction report? So basically, this is for waste and recycling only. We don't measure here any types of water usage or energy usage. This is strictly for waste and recycling. We are gathering information on the types and the amounts of material that you're recycling and the amount of waste disposed during the previous calendar year. So we are in 2023 now. This will be for your calendar year 2022 from January through December. And then we also ask questions about your educational and waste reduction efforts. And I'll go into that in a little more detail in a minute. This report is submitted annually, so you may receive bills or statements either monthly or quarterly or something like that. That will all get aggregated together and it will be submitted annually in our report. We do not need to see it as it comes in throughout the year, just that annual report that will be filed in the next few months. The data that you submit to us helps us determine recycling rates, but it also allows us to take a look at what's being recycled in the county, how businesses are doing, and then any efforts that we could or opportunities for improvement. This is a good opportunity to take a look at those as well. Who needs to file? This is a question we get frequently, so there are some pretty clear definition of who needs to file. Large businesses, if you're filing for your business, not a property manager, I mean, but you're filing your business and you have over 250 employees, then not globally, but locally, 250 employees who report to a site, then you are considered a large business and you are required to file a report. The due date for those businesses and those reports are February 1st. So we're coming up in a couple of weeks. Medium businesses, same kind of thing, but it's a smaller employee number. So it's the 100 to 249 employees. And then small businesses that have either filed in the past or received a written request from us to file. And then commercial property owners or managers of multi-tenant facilities are required to file as well. And the due dates for those are March 1st of the following year. So again, 2023, that'll be March 1st this year for last year's data. What are the mandatory recyclable materials? The county has regulations on what must be recycled within the county. So if you are generating mixed paper, and that includes cardboard, paperboard, white office paper, newspapers, junk mail, things like that, shredded paper as well, all that must be recycled. Commingled materials, which when we say commingled, we mean plastic bottles and containers, glass bottles and jars, and then bimetal cans. So things like soda cans, soup cans, foil products, all those types of things are also required to be recycled at your facility. Scrap metal, and that's different from metal in that it's things like small appliances. It could be pots and pans. It could be metal shelving. It could be file cabinets, those sorts of things. Those are scrap metal materials. Those are required to be recycled as well. And then yard trim and Christmas trees. And yard trim is, in some cases, if you're talking about a golf course, it's hundreds of acres potentially. And if you have a small office building in a downtown area, it could be nothing. There could be zero grass and you have a plant on your desk. In that case, you're probably not going to get much in the yard trim category. Christmas trees, we mean live trees, not the fake kind. I haven't found a place to recycle a fake tree yet, but a live Christmas tree. And we see those a lot in certain places of worship or schools. A lot of businesses may not have Christmas trees at all either, so that's fine. Voluntary recyclables means that it's not a mandatory thing to recycle, but it is things that we are seeing recycled and do encourage people to recycle where possible. This is just a very short list of things that may be recycled under voluntary. We're seeing more and more things like food scraps being recycled or sent away for composting, toner cartridges, light bulbs, electronic waste, things like that. So if you have any of these or any other items that you do know that you recycle, certainly put those on your report and they will count towards your diversion rate. I'll show you a little bit more about this in a minute. What do you need to know before you start? So you log in, you look at it, it's all a bit daunting. It's a good idea to kind of get a gauge around your business of what is being recycled and what is going away as trash, and collecting that information first, then you can have everything at your fingertips when it comes time to file. Knowing the types of materials, maybe you know what they are. Maybe you need to talk to a maintenance or janitorial staff. Maybe you need to talk to an office admin staff. You know, they may organize the things like bills and see receipts of things that have been recycled or sent back. So ask around and see where is everything going that's coming in and out of your business or your organization. Get the names and addresses of the collectors. So who is collecting those, or are you taking them back on your own? So like I said, toner is a good example. Maybe you have a mail back program for toner. So it's a good idea. Again, maybe your office admin staff knows where some of those things go, or you yourself know. Just having those names and addresses handy is helpful as well. The size and the number of containers where materials are collected. So I'm not talking about right under your desk or in an office somewhere, but the final destination for all that material. So your outside containers where the trucks come and pick it up. That's a kind of size and number we're talking about, because we can measure, and I'll talk about again that in a minute, but it gives you a good idea of you know, quantities, and really puts the data in your hands as well. The collection frequency, so how often are those trucks coming by, or how often are you mailing things in, or how often are you bailing things to be collected, that sort of thing. How often is it collected? And then the quantity of material collected. So that means the weights, basically. Bottom line is we calculate these types of things using the weights. So if you know that you have an 8-yard collected 3 times a week, then we can calculate the weights. Again, the hauler may provide this for you, and that's ideal, but if not, there are ways to calculate it yourself or with assistance as well. Where do you get this information? As I said, first talk about around your offices or your staff, your maintenance departments, janitorial, those sorts of people, and see exactly everything that's being collected, and then call the collectors of those materials. A lot of them, especially the large ones in this area, know about these reports, so they should have this information handy. If you are sending things back, and I use the automotive industry as a good example here because they have a lot of different types of materials that are being recycled. So they have different things like oils, they have tires, they have scrap metal, they have antifreeze, they have all types of things. So they're needing to get this information from a lot of different sources. So call around, getting all that information ahead of time is always helpful. Like I said, we use weights to determine things like recycling rate. If you can't get the information from the collector, then we have a calculator that we can use to estimate that weight. And my colleague Kelsey is going to be demonstrating that in just a minute. So don't fret. We're going to show you how to get that weight if you are needing to estimate it as opposed to getting that information from your hauler directly. This is just a quick snapshot of what it looks like, estimated breakdowns of what types of materials we are seeing or have been, that are generally found in different size dumpsters. You may find this useful, you may not, so I will keep going, but it is here for you as a resource. This is the calculator that Kelsey will describe, so I won't go into this too much because I don't want to steal her thunder. She'll go over this in just a minute. These are the examples of collection containers. They may not look exactly like this, but this is kind of a general snapshot of our most common containers that we see for trash and recycling. The 8-yard dumpsters, 6-yard, 4-yard, 2-yard dumpsters, the toters, and these are types of containers that are collected along a route. So if a truck comes by, picks it up, they're going to also pick up from the neighbor down the street and then 2 streets away and then along a route. So these are the containers we would use that if you don't know the exact weight, we can estimate. The compactors and the roll-offs, they should weigh for you. So when they collect, it's either on call or they have an alert where it says the compactor is full, they come and collect it. When they collect, when your hauler or your whatever business you're working with to collect this material gets that notification, they will weigh each of these types of collection containers, and they should be able to give you exact weights for compactors, roll-offs, balers, those types of things. So we do not have estimated weights for those. Those are the types of containers that you would need to get the exact weights from the collector or the hauler. Just another way that you may see different materials collected, boxes, like I mentioned, mail-in boxes for things like toners. This is a lamp box at the top. Balers, again, same thing. If you have cardboard bale, some businesses bale things like shrink wrap or plastic wrap. You should be able to get a direct weight for that. You see the shredded paper over on the right-hand side. As I mentioned at the beginning, shredded paper is a required material to be recycled. So certainly reach out to whomever may take your shredded paper. They will have weights for you because they will bill you for it. So they should be able to tell you how much. It may not be collected on a regular basis. So if that's the case, they should be able to give you a summary at the end of the year of how much shredded paper was recycled from your property during that year. Here's a snapshot again. This is the same screenshot that I showed at the beginning. This is the login screen. You'll see at the top the website to log in. Those of you who are on as the account person on this website will be getting a reminder email soon, and it also has the link in there as well. If you have filed before and you're having difficulty logging in, you can click send me my password and you should be able to get a password. If you ever run into issues though, just let me know and I can also send you a temporary password to log in. This is the dashboard when you first log in. You'll see the properties that are assigned to you. If you are let's say, for example, a property management company and you have multiple buildings that you're filing for, you may see a long list there on the list on the left. If you are an independent school and that's only one of you, then you'll just see your school that you need to report for. So it just depends. We do have, for example, large grocery store chains that report each location individually. Those should all be on the left side as well. And then to start your new report, you're going to click under report status, start the 2022 report for this year. You should also be able to see the previous reports that are on the right-hand side. That's called your dashboard. So you should be able to see how it's been reported in the past over there. As I mentioned, the required recyclable materials come up first. So you will click on the materials that you do collect for recycling. I will let you know for single stream, this is a kind of confusing one. Some people have one container for recycling, meaning all recycling goes in together. Some people have one for paper, one for commingled materials. If you have the single stream, you are going to click both mixed paper and commingled materials. And we'll go into how to show that in a minute. If you have one and one, obvious, that's a little bit more obvious. You're going to click mixed paper, you're going to click commingled materials. If you have cardboard collected separately, which a lot of places do, you'll choose that one as well. If you have, like we talked about, the shredded paper collected and shredded by a third party, you'll also click the shredded paper collected separately. So keep in mind all the different ways that materials are collected. Now, if you have just one container for everything, you're only going to pick mixed paper and commingled materials. You're not going to choose corrugated cardboard collected separately. That's only if you have one container or a baler where cardboard is collected and nothing else. And then you'll want to choose Christmas trees, scrap metal, and yard trim. If you don't have any scrap metal for that year, just make a note of that, because we always do need to know if you've done any scrap metal recycling for the previous year. So you can either choose scrap metal here and put not applicable, non-collected, or you can write it freely in the section that says education or waste reduction. And we'll talk about that in a second. Then if you have any of the voluntary recyclable materials that we talked about, you can choose those here. If you don't, then you would just click proceed. Then you will come to this page. This is where you can, you'll be required to put in the containers, the number of containers, the size, the pickups, and then the quantity at the bottom. So in this example, we're looking at the mixed paper container. There's a drop down, so you will choose that. And drop down, you have everything from 6, 8 to whatever the size or other. And then you can freely type in the other type of container if that is applicable in your circumstance. The number of containers, the number of pickups per week, month, on call, etc. And then the quantity collected. And that's where you're going to put in the weight. After you click next, you're going to add a hauler. It's going to require you to add a hauler. So you're going to click there where it says add hauler. It's going to ask you, are you hiring a hauler collector, or do you transport it yourself, mail it in, back haul it, etc.? You're going to choose one of those two. And then you're going to start typing. And we have a list of the most common haulers that are used in the county. As you start typing, the option will self-populate. So you'll choose the one that best matches the hauler that you are using. Let me just go back for a second. If you don't see the hauler that you're using, we find sometimes it's happened in the past where there's a new hauler, or you're shipping somewhere else, mailing it in, or you're taking it back somewhere else. You can actually add a hauler in the space below. Here you see the mixed paper. So this way that this is listed, it says it's a 6-yard dumpster collected by Waste Management. And then there's also a cart, and that's picked up by Office Paper Systems. So you can add different haulers if you need to. So let's say This, in this case, the cardboard, paperboard, and mixed paper goes in the 6-yard, and then they have separated white office paper for some reason. Maybe they get a rebate for it or something. And then this is a separate cart. So you can keep adding containers until you've exhausted your list of containers that you have. As you see, as we're going across the top, there's recycling. It says recycling, trash, waste reduction, education. As you go and complete the sections, those tabs will get a green check mark, and that's how you can proceed. You won't be able to submit the report until all the tabs across the top have that green check mark. So you'll come after trash, and you're going to do trash the same way we saw the recycling. You're going to put in the container size, the frequency it's collected, the weight, the hauler name, all of that. Then you're going to have to click on waste reduction, and you'll write something in here. How do you reduce waste at your business? Do you use reusable plates and cups in your lunchroom? Or are you using a specific supplier that takes back pallets and crates, things like that? Same with education. You'll click in the next one. How do you educate your staff, your janitorial, your students, your visitors, whatever? How do you educate those people on where recycling goes, on how to reduce waste, that sort of thing? Again, as I mentioned before, because there are things like Christmas trees and scrap metal that are required, if you don't have those items, here is another place you can put no scrap metal collected in 2022, and you can just write freely in this section. You will need to put in something under the report details, and that is the number of employees covered by this report. I've had the question before, if you're a multi-tenant building, you're never going to get a great exact number of employees because people come and go, or it's a new vacant office, but you know that it's going to be filled, or it was filled for half the year. Just an estimate is fine. It only becomes really important when it's that 249 to 250 employees. But if you're a tenant, or sorry, a property manager, and you just have an estimate, that's okay. The building space and the acreage are not, they don't have the asterisk by them. So those are not required, but if you do, especially when it comes to the green area, not the parking lots, not the buildings themselves, but for the green area, it's a better way to estimate the yard trim that you're generating. So once you fill that, you're going to save and go to the next, and then you will click submit. When you go to submit, you're going to have to put in your name and then your title. And that just says that you are the person responsible for filing the report. You can always view your report once it's been submitted, and you can see how it was submitted. It will not be verified, however, until one member of our staff comes by and does the field verification. After that's been completed, then you will get a approved report, and you'll get an email alerting you that the report has been approved. It will then be saved in your dashboard, and you can always go back and refer to it later. This is the submit section, so you can see the name. I have completed the report. I am the person responsible for filing. This is a calculator that you can use to see the environmental impact that your recycling has had, if you are ever interested. Some businesses have, sustainability goals, or departments that require or are interested in knowing what kind of trees or oil or electricity they've saved throughout the year. So if anyone has any questions, you're free to ask them now. We will also have a Q&A session after.
Hey, Sarah.
Yes.
Hi, it's Michelle from Montgomery Village Healthcare Nursing Home.
Oh,
I just had a quick question. Hey,
Sure.
I'm good. I did the recycle last time, and I still haven't gotten this certificate. Well, you said it would be on the dashboard?
It should be. You should be able to see your report from last year. And that's the approved report. They've all been approved from last year.
Oh, okay, great. That's all I wanted to check, because I have a folder that or a binder that I keep it in, and I don't have it yet. So I just wanted to see if I would actually get it from the dashboard or whatever.
You should, yeah, you should be able to get it in. And like I said, all the reports from last year were approved by
Okay,
November. So
okay.
it's good to go. Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you. That's it. You have a
sure
great
thing.
day. Thank you so much. I
Of course,
remember all this. It was nice to have a little refresher on
of
it.
course.
All right. Is that it, ladies and gentlemen? Is
Kelsey's
that
going to
it?
go over the calculator quickly.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
see Lando has his hand up too.
Yes. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
So trying to share my face. So Lando Cox, park manager here in Rockville. Question about, I'm not sure if you covered this. Is painting one of those items? I think I saw 10 cans, but is painting one of those items we're recycling or no?
So if have you recycled some paint? Is that the question?
Yeah, I think like building engineers, that's come up before. I don't know if it was on the list. Think it's on the list, but said we'd check with you.
Sure. So I would have to go through and see, but it's not a mandatory, it would be under the
Voluntary?
voluntary, exactly.
Okay.
So not the metal, the metal is just part of your recycling. But let me see if I can see one, because now I'm not remembering exactly.
Okay. And it's not necessarily something we need to know today. I know we've corresponded before, so
Yeah, so
we
paint is in there. I see it. So if you have somehow recycled, just verify first that it's been recycled, because I have had that question and they're like, well, yes, we pulled it out and then it went as hazardous waste. So it's still
Right,
considered
okay.
waste. If there was a way that it was recycled somehow, then as long as you verified that, paint is an option, yes, under the voluntary recyclables. You'll probably get it in gallons, I would imagine, from
Yep.
your whomever tracks it. And I think there should be a way for us to figure out the weight in pounds instead.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions before I turn it over to Kelsey?
Hi, Sarah. Aretha over here.
Oh, hi, Aretha. How are you?
Good, thanks. My only challenge every year is in the system when I need to update tenant names or add a tenant or remove a tenant. I don't see it updating on my end, so I don't know if it actually does on the back end on your end.
So this has been an issue in the past, and I've had trouble with that. So if you have been trying to update it and you've entered the information and you're about to throw the computer out the window and it's happened before, just email me and I can replace them from my side.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing.
All right.
I see another hand raised. Charmaine?
Thank you, Sarah. I do have one quick question. So
Sure.
being a property manager commercial manager with multi-tenants, there's a lot of confusion when it comes to the landlord doing their part for the annual recycling versus our tenants doing their own. For example, we have the large containers outside, but our tenants will do their own shredded paper recycling. So are they to do their own individual report, or should I get their information and include it in ours?
No, so they won't be doing their own report. The property manager will file for the entire property that is covered by them. So let's say, for example, we have many situations in the county where it's a retail center, for example, and at the end is Giant and at the other end is CVS. Giant files their own report, CVS files their own report, and you're probably not providing any containers for those two, but you're providing containers for some of the businesses in the middle. The same could be true for an office building as well. You're filing for the tenants that you manage. If within those businesses they are shredding paper, they should provide you with the weights and the hauler, collector, or the recycler in this case for shredded paper, for example. they should be sending you that information. So it's a good idea ahead of time, maybe now even, to send out an email to all the people who your contacts at those different businesses and ask them for their shredded paper information. And the same goes for things like scrap metal. So they may have, if you don't take care of scrap metal for them, they have to do it themselves. Then if they took a filing cabinet and some office chairs to Montgomery Scrap, for example, they should be providing you with that data, and then you're filing on their behalf.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Alexandra?
Hi,
Hi.
I'm from Butler School, so we are a school, and you said the deadline is based on the size of the business. So do we look at just strictly the employees or employees plus the students?
Not the students, just the
Okay.
employees. Yep. So for you, I believe you would be March 1st.
That's right, that's right, yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions in this first session? No, go ahead, Kelsey. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. My name is Kelsey. I'm a recycling specialist with the Montgomery County Recycling and Resource Management Division. I work under Sarah, and I'm in charge of the Silver Spring, Wheaton, Tacoma Park area. But more importantly for you right now, I'm the author of this handy dandy calculator. So this calculator came to be because during COVID, we were getting a lot of worrisome emails and phone calls from the businesses in the county about how they were going to file this when COVID had basically shut down businesses, restricted collections, and just made the whole year pretty confusing. So we do this every year, trying to give, instructions to people, because even though COVID is not necessarily shutting down businesses anymore right now in the way that it was when this was conceptualized, it's still really handy. It will help you calculate anything. If you can't, say, get in touch with your hauler, or maybe you can get in touch with your hauler, but you have single stream recycling and that's harder for you to calculate. Or you just have a bunch of voluntary materials that you weren't able to collect the weights for, that you maybe hauled yourself. So this is what the calculator looks like. If you don't feel like listening to me, or you forget everything I say, there is an instructions tab right here that tells you what's necessary, what's not, and what each thing is for, and how to fill everything out. But in case you are a visual learner and not the other kind, I'm going to walk you through it. So the first thing to put in is the year that this report is being filed for. So since we're in 2023, I'll put 2022. What is your relationship? Some of these, the filer details, you're not required to put in unless you want specific information. But for this, I'm going to say I'm a program specialist filing for the businesses in my designated area. This will also, if you pick the property manager, it'll change the date of the business on the summary report. So before I even get into anything else, everything I am putting on here will be in a summary report that you can view more easily and save for your own records. So since I'm not a liar, I'm going to write I'm a program specialist. I like to choose a different business name each time. So this time it's Blockbuster. If you can believe it, the last remaining Blockbuster is located at 123 Extinction Avenue. Not boding well for them. So I'm gonna then put in the zip code. You can put the address for your records, but if you want to know who your program or your recycling specialist is for your area, the person who will be doing your verification, you can put in your zip code. One of my zip codes is 20902. So my name and contact information will pop up, but we'll see that later. So I'm not gonna fill these out, but if you are a government agency, if you select county, a different program specialist will come up if you want to know that. If it doesn't matter for you, none of the above, The big part of especially this filer details and most everything else is that it mimics the, or it mirrors as closely as we could get it, the recycling database. So I'm sure you're seeing like all this information yet again. It's my inspiration was TurboTax with all of this, how it just kind of walks you through each step, and then you can basically, after all this, when you see the summary page, you can copy and paste it over. Obviously, this is not a replacement for the report. It is just a helpful tool. So you will have to take this information and put it into the online report. Do not save this and send it to one of us. It will not help us. You can upload it as a document to your report, but that's up to you. So, okay, now we got through all the lame stuff. Now we'll get into the actual recycling content. So the first thing first is that if you have any green area, put it in here. This is where the yard trim is calculated from. Blockbuster will say has 1 acre. Obviously, yeah, put in acreage. This Blockbuster has a backyard, is what I'm learning. So COVID-19 information. This might not apply to you anymore, but in case it does, or you work closed for maybe another reason, you can use this. But you can answer, drop down. All of these are drop down menus, or most all of them. If you click on it, you'll know. We'll just say yes. How many weeks were you closed? We'll say 10. This will subtract those weeks from your total weight if it applies. Next, we have handy dandy dual stream or single stream. I'm sure everyone with single stream who has had to fill out a report knows how hard it is. So we'll do single stream for this example. We have 1 single stream container. So then you'll fill out these pieces of information. Most of these reflect what's in the report when you file. We only have the most common containers. You'll notice that on the report database, when you file, that there are a lot more options. These are just the most common ones. If, say, you have a different size container, maybe you have something weird like a 16 cubic yard dumpster, you might have to take out your own calculator and do some math on your own. For this, though, we will say we have 1 single stream 8-yard container. Number of those, we said 1. Pickup frequency, how often is it picked up? We'll say once a week. That's pretty normal. Then this is the tricky question. For how much of the reporting year was the container above serviced at the selected pickup frequency? I need a drink of water after that. Okay, so that basically means that, especially during COVID, if you had a switch in collection frequency, say for the first half of the year, you had it picked up once a week, but for the second half of the year, you had it picked up twice a week, this is where you would put that. So for this container, you would write, it was picked up at this frequency for 6 months. And then you'll be asked, do you have a different size single stream container? Yes. Obviously, this is a complicated example. If this doesn't apply to you, just write 1 year. That's also in the instructions. Just put 1 year. Then, yes, another container. Since it's the same container, we're going to do 8 cubic yards. Numbers are the same. And then, or wait, no, numbers are not the same. We said twice a week. And then it is 6 months. And then you can write no. All right, and then we're moving on. So you're like, okay, we filled that out, but we'll get to the summary page. Don't worry, I know you're all sitting on the edge of your seats. So this is the yard trim we were talking about. I put in that 1 acre above. This is where you ask, is the yard trim hauled away? As in, does your landscaper or someone take all of the yard trim that is collected and take it off site? Or is it left on site for, say, grass cycling, which is also very common. So we're gonna say it's left on site. Grass cycling is pretty normal. You'll see this pop up, but it's okay. It just happens. It makes it sound like it wasn't on purpose. It was definitely on purpose. So now we're on trash collection because that's also part of the recycling report. So we'll say 8 cubic yard dumpster. We'll say 1 of them once a week as well. And then this never changes. So we'll say 1 year, and then you can write no. All right, before we get to the big reveal, probably one of the most helpful tools of this calculator is the voluntary section. So this has hopefully everything you could ever want to recycle. I'm not going to do it now, but honestly, I want to check if I put paint in here at you, Lando. So say some of the other ones, some of the voluntary materials, such as if you go down to wood, Christmas trees, that one's in here. That is obviously required, but it fits easier in the voluntary list. Same is to be said about paper. There is more specific paper options as well as shredded. So if you don't get a report from your shredder, you can put it in here. These are each of the options, and then the unit. The unit can be confusing. A lot of them sometimes are just cubic yards. You might have to get some fancy with some math if you don't know how to estimate cubic yards. But for the things that are very common, such as say cooking grease, you can do it in gallons or drums. And say we just have one 55-gallon drum is picked up once a month for a whole year. Then we will put the number of drums is 12. Do we see how it's working? Good, good. Love to see it. Major appliances or other options, as well as food waste. We're seeing composting or food scraps gaining traction. So you can obviously use this as well for your food scraps program, as well as if you're a contractor of any kind. There's lots of construction materials that I know get properly recycled, and then computers, electronics, all the fun stuff. So now we're going to go over to the summary page. I need a drum roll, and bam. So we have your due date. Can't be late. That's what I'm learning. You have your, important information. You put in your zip code. So now you have my name and my email address. You don't get my phone number. It lets you know, for your own records, yes, COVID closures, whatnot. And then the best part is all the pounds, all the weights. So obviously when you file your report, you have to make sure that you're putting things in pounds. It doesn't actually acknowledge anything else that's not in pounds. So say for the oil, the cooking grease, that was in gallons before, but now it is in pounds. So that's perfect for us. It's easier on our side, easier on your side, because I'm not calling you wondering what's going on. Obviously you see that yard term is pretty high, but that's neither here nor there. So that is the calculator. And then when you're done, you can save it for your records. And if you're, say, a property manager, and you have to do this for yet another property or anything, you can just go back to both of the calculators and hit clear form, a little pop-up, and then you can use it either the next year or all over again. Oh, that one's going to take a little bit longer. Sorry. Don't worry, it's not broken. She's just taking her time. Okay. And then you're ready for next year. All right, are there any questions specific to the calculator? Any questions too before I stop sharing the screen in case someone wants something else?
So Kelsey, before you move on, I was going to ask if you could go over when putting the single stream in particular into the report about the containers. Yeah.
I am so sorry. I forgot to say that.
No problem. We're so used to it. We do it so often.
I know. So single stream, we're going to go back. I will show you. So once a week, 1 year, and then over to the summary page. So obviously it's a little different than what I just showed you because I just put in different numbers, but you'll see that under the mixed paper and commingled, they counted them separately in this calculator. This is how you want to reflect them into your report. If it's a single stream one container, do 0.5 and 0.5. If there's two single stream containers, what do we do? 1 and 1. And then these are the accurate weights for those types of materials. if it was even like before and it was with the weird collections, like just add them as separate containers. This is how you would break it down if it was a single stream container. If it's a dual stream, obviously just do what you would normally do. Good.
Yes, thank you.
Of course.
I also in the same section, if you had switched haulers throughout the year, that's a question I've gotten as well. So it would work somewhat similarly, where you're putting in the calculator that you had one container. Let's say you had an 8-yard collected once a week by Waste Management, and you switched to Republic, and that container was still collected once a week. It might look pretty similar, but you would need 2 haulers. So what you would do is you would put in the Waste Management one container once a week for 4 months, for example. And then you'll also put in the second container for the rest of the year. And it will actually give you, even if you're saying it's the same size container, same frequency of collection, you can put that in, as Kelsey's doing, we can see it. And then you would put those 2 different amounts with the 2 different haulers. And it gets a bit redundant if they're both single stream, so it's going to show up with multiple containers.
Sorry,
but that way it keeps the previous, until you clear it. But so let's say that 8 cubic yard once a week, the first one was for the 4-month time period. That's how much mixed paper was collected, 7726. And then in the commingled section, it's the 4614. Then you would go back and you would add the second one for Republic. As Republic collected it throughout their time on the contract, they would have the 15,000 pounds and then the 9,000 pounds. So certainly do reflect if you changed haulers throughout the year as well. And I had Alexandra ask to define again single stream and dual stream containers. So Kelsey, I'll let you take it.
So single stream means that both mixed paper and commingled, or most recyclables, are put into one container and all collected together. Dual stream is when you separate out mixed paper and commingled. The county definitely prefers and enforces dual stream, at least on the residential side. Obviously, the private commercial side can do what they want. And those 2 are collected separately. And so that's why you would have 2 recycling containers for each material, or well, 1 container per material, 2 in total. So that's the main difference.
Thank you. Yeah, and the reason for dual stream and why we still do dual stream in the residential sector, it keeps things cleaner. It minimizes things like manual sorting requirements and things like that. So it is still a popular collection, but like Kelsey said, in the private sector, when you're contracting with third-party collectors, they have their own facilities, they take it there and they separate it, and they have their own methods of recycling. So kind of at the whim of whatever collector you have contracted with. So to go and find this calculator, basically that login page that I showed you before, where you're going to log in for the report, on the right-hand side where it says, send me a new password or whatever, at the bottom, it's going to say filing tools, and you will find the calculator there. There's a link to it. When you click on it the first time, you need to hit enable content. If you don't, the math won't work. And for me, I need as much math help as I can get, so I wanted to certainly enable the content. So the first time, like I said, when you open it, you're going to want to enable the content. You can then save it. You won't be able to make any math changes to it, but you can certainly save the tool to your own computer. And then you won't have to click that enable content each time you reopen it, but the first time you certainly will need to do that. So another question, so you would need various kinds of trash cans in each classroom and rooms in the school to separate all these materials. Yes. So in a classroom, let's say in your example, you have trash. Everywhere you have trash, you should also have recycling. That's just the rule of thumb. So if you don't have enough recycling and you're not getting a lot of trash in a certain room or space, I would just recommend taking out the trash and then making everybody take their trash and their recycling to a centralized location. But if you do have a trash can in a room, you should always have a recycling. Now, let's say it's a fax copy machine room. You're not going to really need commingled materials. Probably you may just want one container for paper. But anywhere that you have recycling, or sorry, trash collection, you should also have recycling as well. These are not the containers though that will show up on this report. So you may have a 30-story, high-rise office building. You have thousands probably of trash and recycling cans throughout that property. But when we talk about this report, we're only talking about that final, probably loading dock or collection area. Those individual cans and containers do not need to be reported on this report. Any other questions? No. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. I am, in the next few weeks, we'll be uploading this to our website. So you should be able to go back in and search for it if you need a refresher. Feel free at any time to email me as well. You should have my email address, and I am happy to provide you any other assistance or pointers as needed. If you know who the recycling specialist in your area is, feel free to reach out to them as well. They should be able to help you also. If you need assistance from them because something's changed or something is odd about your report, then it may make sense for them to just come by and help take a look at what you're generating and how to report that also. So, we prefer to have it done the best way from the beginning instead of going back and changing it later. So certainly
Take me with you, you forgot me.
I'm happy to help you out on the front end for that. Alexandra, I saw your hand up. Was that from before? Or do you have another question?
Yeah, but maybe I can just reach out to our specialist. I'm new at this. We do have two kinds of trash cans for trash and recycling. I wasn't sure if we need to further separate the recycling, but I guess I need to figure out if we have a single or double stream container.
Yes, that's the first step. Figure out if when that truck comes by and collects, are they picking up one container or are there more than one container they're collecting and what goes in it? So do you know who the specialist is in your area?
No, not yet. I'm just getting on board with this. But I'll find out. I'll find out from the person who was doing it before. I'll just log on and see when I put the zip code. You said it shows up, right? The name shows up.
Just in the calculator tool. It won't be on your dashboard.
Okay.
So what's your zip code?
20874.
I believe that is Brianna. So I can send you, yes, I can send you her email and she will be able to help you out. You're in Potomac?
No, Darnestown.
Okay, yeah, it's Brianna. Okay. It's yeah.
Okay.
So I will, do I have your email address? I can connect you through email.
Well, yes, from maybe me registering through this.
Yep, then I have it. That's fine. Yep, I'll send her information and she can come by and help.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I definitely need to figure out how that works because no one is gonna separate the recycling before it goes from our many trash cans into that big container.
Sure.
So I don't know. I have to figure out how that works.
No problem. I'll send her by and she can help you out.
All right. Thank you so much.
No problem. Any other questions before we log off?
No. I'll keep my questions for her if I have other questions. All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So anybody else, if you have any issues or concerns as we go, if you haven't encountered them yet, but they come up later, certainly feel free to reach out to me or the specialist in your area. Kelsey's happy to help as well if you need. And we wish you the best of luck and hope you have a nice rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you,
You're
Kelsey.
welcome.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you both.